Ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, Congressman Rob Wittman. Congressman, pleasure to have you back on the show. Good to see you.
Good morning, Rob. Great to be back with you.
This story is one that I'm so glad you're continuing to press. This is the question of our time. It's a question that we need an answer to. In trying to uncover the truth about this pandemic, you are calling for Congress to pass the World Deserves to Know Act, aptly named. Tell us about this bill.
Well, Rob, this bill would actually hold officials in the Chinese government accountable, especially those that have jailed journalists, have jailed scientists, to try to suppress the truth. This bill says we're going to sanction them. This bill also says we are going to prevent any U.S. dollars from going to China for this gain-of-function research. It also says we want to know exactly where in the past U.S. dollars have gone for this research. And it elevates Taiwan's status, who's actually been a voice of truth and reason in this. It raises their status in the World Health Organization to observer status. So all those things, I think, really get the truth how this virus either escaped accidentally or purposely from the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
Congressman, just curious, now that we've had several reports, how do you think that happened? What were the mechanics of this virus getting out of the Wuhan Institute of Virology? Do you think that it was an accidental leak, that this just happened, somebody got sick in the lab, one of those lab workers the Wall Street Journal told us about months and months ago, and then infected people in and around Wuhan? Or do you think that this was deliberate? Because there is reporting that indicates that as well. And if it was deliberate, what do we do now?
Well, Rob, one thing we know for sure is that it didn't originate in a wet market. We know that the source, I believe, is the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The question is was it accidental or purposeful? Listen, having worked in a lab for years, I know that there are very, very strict protocols, especially with working with a virus like this COVID-19 virus. My concern would be if it is an accidental escape, it is a reckless operation of that laboratory. If it was purposeful, then as you said, we need to get to the bottom of that and hold people accountable. To me, it's not clear in either instance whether it was an accidental release or purposeful release. I think that there's evidence that could lead you in both directions. That's why we need to get the exact information from China. That's why China evading getting that exact information does raise a lot of suspicions about what truly happened there.
Yeah, they're inhibiting our ability to investigate the origins of this virus. They're covering it up. I'm curious, we're about 5 months away from the opening ceremonies for the Beijing Olympics. Should we really be sending our best and brightest to Beijing to celebrate with the Chinese and the rest of the world in the Olympics?
I think it's one of those things we need to look at carefully, especially with all the things that China has done, not just to the Wuhan lab, but all the other things they do in relating to human rights, what they're doing in their aggressive behavior in the Indo-Pacific. I believe all those things ought to be considered about the U.S. presence there at the Olympics. Now, some will say that, we shouldn't penalize athletes for the issues that we have with China. But I do think it begs the question about what should our involvement be with a government that clearly is not doing things in the world interest, that is clearly doing things that are counter to the United States interest. I think we need to look very, very carefully at that.
And then, Congress, I got to ask you, we're very tight on time. NIH Director Francis Collins, one of Dr. Fauci's closest colleagues, longtime colleagues, announced that he will be resigning today. Any thoughts on the timing of that?
It may be coincidental, but certainly something I think to look at as far as their actions and the things that have led up to. We see the continue to unfold controversies there. So I would want to learn a little bit more about why the resignation at this time.
Yeah. Virginia Congressman Rob Wittman, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate all the work you do up on the Hill. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, coming up next on Wake Up America.